And we're live. So, welcome everybody to the JPES Tutoring YouTube channel. Today, I'm here with some tutor friends, and we're going to talk about some issues that we in the tutoring community like to discuss because we really want to be able to talk to parents that are out there that are wondering, why do people bother to hire tutors? Why should tutors be online? What's the benefit? There's just a lot of questions. So, I'm going to let my two friends here introduce themselves. If you've watched these videos before, you may have seen their faces. Linda, tell us who you are, what you do.
Hi, I'm Linda, and I teach reading.
Darcy?
Hi, I'm Darcy, and I also teach reading, usually to kids that really struggle.
So, all of us are actively running our online tutoring businesses. And what we're going to do is I'm going to present the Wheel of Names. And the Wheel of Names is just a free tool. You should use it if you haven't before. This is a free tool that allows us to do reviews. It allows us to encounter questions without struggling over which to pick. So we've got some Halloween colors for today. Let's spin and see what we land on first. Okay, so the question popping up, and I'll see if it makes the noise. I can't remember. Okay, good, it doesn't. Okay, so why is online tutoring better than in-person tutoring? This is a loaded question. This gets a lot of debate. How about Darcy? Why do you think online tutoring is really, and maybe you don't, you can say, no, it's not always better. Explain what's going on with this question.
Well, I don't know if it always is better, but I think that there's several big advantages. And one is that you can choose your tutor wherever they are. You don't have to choose somebody that lives next door to you and or right close by. You can choose someone from across the country. And that's a big advantage because you want to look for someone who is highly qualified. And there might not be someone like that next door to you. So also where I live kind of, in the middle of nowhere, that I live in a little town, not even one stoplight in this town. So I know that if somebody comes to me, or I am not going to drive to them, but if they drove to my house, they're probably going to be driving at least 30 minutes to get to me. And then that's just a big time commitment to several times a week to drive 30 minutes, be here for an hour, drive 30 minutes back. There's nothing for you to go, you can't drop off your kid and then come back because there's nothing for you to go do while you're here. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
And there's so much more to that too. We could spend a whole video, but we won't for this purpose. Linda, what do you have to say about online tutoring versus in person?
Yeah, so I had a student once with pretty severe ADHD. And some people think, oh, if my child has ADHD, they won't want to focus, or, they'll need to move around a lot. And it might be difficult for them to tutor online. I noticed the opposite. That when I started tutoring this child in person and going to their house, and there was the cat jumping on the table, and there was the mom walking in and out of the room, and there was a friend knocking at the door, and there was food, and there was this, and there was that. And she was very distracted in the environment. But when I suggested that we try just one time online, and she had that iPad in front of her, I had her attention the whole entire time. So it's not always what you think. So I learned that little lesson that we shouldn't assume that a child won't be entranced and fully engaged.
And can I add something to that real quick? You mentioned, that they may need to move around or whatever. Sometimes we have the feeling that can only happen in person, but online you can do, I sometimes do, I do it too. We both stand up, we, move, we do some moving, and stretching and maybe some kind of a little game or a brain break. We just because it's online doesn't mean we don't have movement.
Yeah, with online, I like what you said about you can, with the driving distances and availability of a nice quiet place, because we're tutoring outside of a school. We really can't be in the schools because we don't work for those school systems. So, in all fairness, we have to be in another quiet environment. And in this day and age, sometimes it's hard to do that. There's a lot of distractions. But on the computer, it's when kids are working with us, they're not there watching passive videos. It's not that they're just what we sometimes see, that you'll go out and see kids in restaurants on iPads and you'll say, well, I didn't do that when I was a kid because we didn't have that kind of stuff. It's they're still with us. They're seeing our face, and that's pretty much a requirement. Like, I'll hardly ever have someone who's off camera. I'm not sure if you guys do or not, but they want to see me. I want to see them. We're talking, and then suddenly I'm screen sharing, and they're busy. They're having to type. They're having to click. They're having to grab. They still will use actual physical items, like grabbing their book. And then we're also learning how to do research and internet skills. That's what's important to me, because you guys have ages, all I think all the ages, especially younger ones, but the older kids get, the more they can learn to have useful like online etiquette and knowing how to use the internet properly. Because from what I have found, just because kids know a lot about the computer, it doesn't mean they know everything. They don't always know how to do a basic thing, like let's set up the format on this paper, let's write an email to your teacher. These are skills that they need, that if we were simply in person, we'd be too concerned with this table's wobbly, oh, go shut that door. Oh, there's just a lot. So online tutoring is, once you show people how it's done, it's so much simpler than the coming and going and meeting in person. And we've all done in person. We don't hate it, right? It's just
Yeah.
for the longevity of it, online seems to be the way to go. It seems to work better. So I'm going to remove that question. And if you guys listening or re-listening to this really want to delve into that more, we can go back and we can make a whole video about that topic. I've got similar videos about that topic. But let's hit the next question. We only have 4 today, guys, and there's 3 left. Okay, I see. How can parents, so parents, listen up. This one is especially for you. How can parents afford a tutor? Like, that's not what if they can't. It's how. How do we make that work? Who would like to speak to this one first?
I do think that when you really find that to be a priority, then that is how you say it, is how can we make this work, instead of, the other way around. And it's okay to pull back on other activities and time and things that you're doing to make room for tutoring. When you do that, it's going to be an investment that's going to last a lifetime.
What do you think, Linda?
Definitely. And, this comes up sometimes when a family really wants to tutor with me and they have other things they're doing. So maybe they have some vacations planned this year. The 16-year-old, needs a new car, things like that. I mean, we all want things, And so I, as a tutor, have this slightly awkward job of talking to people about their priorities,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you do that? Not trying to be judgmental, but what I do is I give a accurate and truthful assessment of what the child really needs and how fast they need to catch up. If they're 2 grades behind, they actually need to catch up 3 this year in order to move forward on grade level with their peers. So I feel that fast catch up is extremely important for children's self-esteem, for the continuing of their academic career. And so sometimes that can sort of clarify for people, where do my priorities need to be right now? And just help people to see, their child's education as, like Darcy said, it's an investment. That's going to last. And so how can we prioritize to make that happen?
as people who have tutoring businesses, I think it's our job to explain how what we do is an investment. It's not like the stock market. It's an investment in one's academics, because you'll never a child will never have their reading skills taken away from them. They'll never, like, once you get your diplomas, it doesn't get taken away. Like, you don't you no one can steal your education. They can steal your, the goodies that you buy, but I think sometimes, if there's always a way to make, like the tutoring, yes, it can be hard work. Yes, maybe it's not as fun as doing something that has immediate results, because with tutoring it can take time. But I think if we make our lessons engaging, that's already helpful enough for them, and they're going to want to be there. And secondly, the vacations, the rewards, the car, whatever the incentive is, that can be a reward for doing well with tutoring. It's it once we've been able to help them improve a grade level, or have better test scores, or pass the class, whatever it is they're doing, then parents can say, okay, well, I'm glad we held back on those other priorities, those other things that we like. I'm glad we held back, because now that your tutor has helped you achieve something, now we can start to have a little bit of fun doing other things. And sometimes a tutor is just there to help, like tutor first, then play. It's that idea of come home, do homework first, then play. I would try that. I think I remember doing that as a kid, where you're like, oh, the homework, once that's out of the way, I'm without that burden. So I'm going to grab the next question for us. I think it's a great topic. I know we've been talking about it. What's next? Only 2 more. In fact, this might be the last time I spin this wheel, because with one more question, we don't have to spin it. Okay. How do you know, Linda's favorite question, how do you know if your child actually needs a tutor? Because a lot of kids we see in school, and I know when I was in the classroom, a lot of them were doing okay. Students would get by, but is that really enough? Just getting by. So how do we know if they need one? And what do we think? How do we know?
Well, you know, we were talking about this before, and talking about enrichment as well as remedial work. And I know that there is something called the downward spiral of success, which is when you have a very smart kid who isn't getting extra. They aren't getting the extra brain food that they need. They start to get bored. They start to lose interest. You might have behavior problems or just zoning out. And it is extremely important for children who need enrichment to get what their brain wants, to become who they're supposed to be, and or their interest level for education can fall off. And then on the flip side, children who are struggling, tutoring is essential. And the research is in. The federal government is now supporting what's called high impact or high dose tutoring, one-on-one tutoring. Now the research shows that children who can have one-on-one tutoring when they're struggling achieve so many more gains, and can actually get to grade level in a much shorter time than the kind of tutoring you might get at school, which would be like in a group. So how do you know if the child needs a tutor? I would say, is the child on grade level? How long has the child been struggling? You really don't want this to go on and on and on with a child in an IEP, say, for year after year after year, where they make maybe a little progress, but they never quite catch up to grade level. If your child is behind even a grade level or half a grade level, it's time to look at why.
Darcy?
Yeah, I would agree with that stuff. And one thing is have your child read to you. Listen to them read and see how they're doing. So then you can know whether or not you need to worry. And I do have a guide about what's normal on my website on, for their age. But yeah, I would have them read some decodable books out loud to you.
So that's something to parents. If we show parents a tool that'll allow them to take that role first, because it's always a parent first. The parent's the first teacher, their first guide in life. And so maybe share that with us, or share it with me later, Darcy. I can put it in the video and parents can go and see, oh, if I, like for you with helping people with dyslexia or who think that they might have it, maybe there's some curiosity there. Maybe we think that they have it, but how do we know that tool can help them figure it out? If kids are coming home with low grades, if they're getting negative reports from teachers, if they are, I don't want to say if they're acting out, but if they're showing signs of frustration and we find out it's not a social problem where they're having trouble with friends in school, it's they're upset because they want help, but they don't want to draw attention to themselves and ask questions. A tutor helps with that where the teacher can't, like if they're unable to time-wise or because there's a large group.
Also, I wanted to say that sometimes, like, it's the kid that really struggled to learn their alphabet, for instance, and the teacher thinks that you haven't been working with your child to help them learn the alphabet, and you know that you have. You've worked really hard. Those kids that have dyslexia, their parents have often been working harder with them than anybody else has been working with their kid. And they still don't, the teacher doesn't think they have, because they're like, so I've heard people that, the teacher's like, that's okay. They're just learning, and, they're only in first grade. If they don't know everything, that's okay. But if you as the parent know that, wait a minute, I've been working on this for years and they still don't know this, then
they need professional help. And
yeah,
it's not the parent's fault. Sometimes parents they're doing everything that they've been told, everything that they've researched, and they say, okay, I'm putting a lot of undue stress on my family. Maybe your children don't always want to listen to their parents. I know I would argue with my dad when he'd help me with algebra. So sometimes it takes an outside person coming in to like ignite that the spirit of being excited about learning and studying. It just depends on who you meet. And I think that the students I've really been able to change a lot of their minds when they were unclear or uncertain, or we're the ones giving them ideas.
I want to say something about assessment too. When you say, how do you know that your child needs a tutor? You look for these signs like we've been talking about, okay? And then you need to have a child assessed. And so sometimes an easy thing to do is to ask the teacher, like for reading and with math, children are constantly being assessed at school. And so you can go to a teacher and say, is my child reading on grade level? If you suspect that they're not, and you haven't really heard anything from the school one way or another, say it's like a month or two into the school year, but you're kind of wondering, you're a little worried, you can go to the teacher and ask. And or you can come to one of us tutors, because all of us have assessments that we give. And some of us even give them, as part of onboarding. Like I give a free assessment so that you can see if your child even needs tutoring. So it's a free service the way I do it. And why not? That'll let you know if there's anything really wrong and what we can do about it.
It's a wonderful opportunity too. That once tutors are out there offering something like, oh, let's get a start. Let's see what you need. Because in my opinion, almost every student needs it. The advanced students can always use a little bit more stimulation, academic stimulation, challenges, new projects. And then even kids who do pretty well in school, they're going to have a leg up if they're working with somebody privately. And then definitely, of course, the struggling students, most of all, are the ones who either they feel behind or they truly are behind grade level or skill level or whatever. So there's a lot of signs out there. And I think parents sometimes get worried. They get worried thinking, I don't want them, once they're far behind, especially when we get to the older grade levels, the parents are not really able to help them in the same way. So that's what we're here to do. And let's come back to this, guys. Comment here if you have something to say about this. Otherwise, we'll talk more about it later. Okay, last question. I am spinning it anyway, and we're running low on time here. Okay, I should have just clicked on it, but it looks so cool on the screen. So how can parents support the work that tutors are doing with their children, and how does that benefit them? So let's break this down. Let's say you're a parent, you've hired a tutor, the tutor and your kid have been working together for the month. It seems like a good fit, but the kid only meets with the tutor once or twice a week. That's only 2 hours per week of extra learning. How can you as a parent help make sure that relationship, that tutor teacher student relationship, how can you make sure that's going well? Because parents want to be able to help too. I think a lot of parents don't want to totally sit back and say, yeah, whatever. What do we think, guys? Linda?
Yeah, so I'm huge on parent participation. And so when you tutor with me, when your child tutors with me for reading, I can only promise certain results in a certain time frame if we have those 2 meetings per month. But what I've seen in my student data is that when parents read with allowed their child to read to them. Okay, so it's not reading a book to your child, it's having your child read aloud to you, so they're practicing the skill. When they did that, on the nights they didn't tutor with me, they cut the time it took their child to gain a grade level in reading in half. I had students gaining a grade level in 6 weeks. And this was with parents who, one of them couldn't even speak English. She wasn't helping or teaching in any way. She just had this iron will that her child was going to sit there every night and just practice, just read something to her every night. And that child progressed so much more quickly that's when I started incorporating this into my program, that just encouraging parents and asking them, are you willing to have your child read to you on the nights we don't tutor? And it makes a huge difference. So that's number one for me as a reading teacher.
Yeah.
Good advice for reading. Okay, with Darcy, tell us what you think about this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also just I like it if parents actually come to tutoring with their kids because they can see exactly what we're doing and know exactly what we're working on. And they can reinforce it during the week and practice doing the things that we do during the week. I know some people don't want to do that. And some parents are like, I'm busy. I need to make supper while my kid is on. And that's one of the advantages of doing it online. Like we were talking about before, you can be in the other room making supper. But if your child is really far behind and you really want to speed up their progress, come to tutoring with them and then work on that stuff with them. And have them read aloud to you. That's part of it. That's part of what you would.
Some tutors will give regular feedback. I know you might have a different policy on that, whether it's right after lessons or weekly or monthly. But no matter what, if you feel that you need something from the parents, like I think sometimes parents will ask me, do I need to buy any more books? Which is great. What do I need to do? Or we're going to be gone next week, or what should she work on over Christmas holidays, And so it's good to always have something in place, and as long as parents are aware, like you just have to let them know. And then I think as long as you're involved, if parents care enough to hire a good tutor for their students, then they will be really excited about helping, because we're doing this work, but really it's always a team effort. It's never, well, the tutor did everything and that's what solved the problem. It's the family, it's the student themselves, it's the tutors, it's teachers, anyone outside of that too. So really great conversations, guys. There's more that we're going to do because we love doing lives. Thanks for coming, and be sure to comment if you had thoughts when you were watching this live and you thought, oh, wait, I've got a story. I need to share it. Share it, because if you don't tell us, we won't know. Okay. So share it. And then maybe we can all do another one of these soon. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.